Oh my goodness. No, this video's been a long time coming. Your boy DL47 all day for a lamp and popping off as much rugby league information as possible. Right now, the horrendous, atrocious, woeful 1998 wooden spoon and 1999 wooden spoon both going to Western Suburbs just before they finish their existence as a standalone team. And so you don't miss any crucial rugby league information watching this video all the way through to the end. As per always, this will be a marathon video because there's so much to go through. At least 10 minutes, possibly a 15-minute video, so strap yourselves in. Here we go. So, I've said many times already, Western Suburbs, one of the foundation teams in Australian Rugby League, participating in the first year 1908, picking up 17 wooden spoons altogether. But these two, the 16th wooden spoon in 1998 and then the 17th in 1999, which is obviously the next video coming up in a few days from now, these two of the very worst spoons we've ever seen. The only wooden spoons as horrendous, in my opinion, Canberra's 1982 wooden spoon, which I've made a video for as well, obviously, so you can scroll through the wooden spoon playlist on this channel to find that video and watch that one. And also University's wooden spoons. University participating in the competition in the years 1920 up to 1937, picking up a monstrous 10 wooden spoons during their time. And I've said often that University were conceding 12, 13, 14 tries in a lot of their games. Well, West were like nearly as bad as that. I think University definitely the only team worse than West in 98-99. Even worse, in my opinion, than Parramatta, who got 6 straight wooden spoons, 1956 up to 1961. But at least West only got these 2 wooden spoons. At least it wasn't 6 straight wooden spoons. But comparing them individually, West's performance is definitely worse. So University's wooden spoons only spoons worse than West in 98-99. It had gotten so bad that West had in fact died out. They were slowly dying in 98-99, and they were left with no choice. They were such a hot mess, such a bastard case both on and off the field. They were left with no choice but to merge with Balmain at the end of 1999 to become West Tigers in the year 2000. But as we all know, all that did was turn 2 struggling teams into 1 struggling team. Balmain struggling throughout the 1990s as well. No one near as embarrassing as West, but struggling as well in their own right. And when they merged and became West Tigers, they had the one great year when they won the comp in 2005, and they made the finals 2010 and 2011, but aside from that, they haven't really done much either. And of course, picked up the last 3 wooden spoons, which we'll get to soon enough. But, like I said, West though, a little bit of a brief history about West. I'm going to say the same thing in this video, as well as the next one, 1999. So, the first year of the comp, 1908 up to 1929, like West got quite a few wooden spoons during that time, and struggled most of the time. Before 1930 up to 1982, 52 years, so 5 decades, West were not the best team in the comp, but always competitive, always a force to be reckoned with. Even though they did get a few wooden spoons and a few lean years here and there between 1930 to 1982, they of course won their 4 premierships during that time. Chuck these in just to, a little bit of make it feel a little bit better for West fans. So in the 1930 Grand Final, West beat St George 27-2. In 1934 Grand Final, West beat East 15-12. In 1948 Grand Final, West beat Balmain 8-5. In 1952 Grand Final, West beat South 22-12. And there was also quite a few other times where West made the Grand Final and ended up runners-up. So 1930 up to 1982, those 5 decades, not every year without fail, but most of the time, very competitive. Then, if you've been watching these wooden spoons, you already know that 1983 up to 1999, I've said already that those 17 years, West got 6 wooden spoons in 17 years, which is alarming, and only made the finals in 1991, 1992, and in 1996, getting the wooden spoon in 1983, 1984, 1987, 1988, and then these 2. Even with all that said, even though they were dying so slowly and so painfully throughout the 1980s and 1990s, still doesn't predict and doesn't excuse this sort of filth, this sort of absolutely disgraceful filth that they dished up in 1998. And even more alarmingly and more disturbingly, in the post-game interviews and post-game match reports in the local newspapers, I remember reading that West players, when they were copying huge scorelines against them, when they were copying huge hidings, they'd say, it was just bad luck. One game in particular in 1998, late in the season, there was a game where they lost to Roosters 62 points to 4. They actually came out in the papers the next day saying, it was just bad luck that we lost by 62 points to 4. They didn't want to take any responsibility for the way they were playing, didn't really care too much about improving it, It got so rotten, that in 1998 and 1999, when West played their home games at Campbelltown Stadium, the West fans would actually get right up on the barrier, and as the West players walked off the field at half time and again at full time, they'd actually chuck cans and bottles at the players as they were walking off. They were that frustrated with how the team were playing, they actually chucked the rubbish on the players on the field. You know what I mean? Yeah. So pretty much, can't get any worse. Other than University, 1920 up to 1937, he got 10 wooden spoons. I don't think it could really get any worse than West in 98 and 1999. So, I said this was going to be a long video, not even up to the stats yet. The stats, horrible as you'd expect. In 1998, West playing 24 games, winning just 4 and losing 20, and losing the last 10 consecutive games to get the wooden spoon. They scored only 371 points, but conceded 802 in defence, and you've probably worked out it's going to be something like that. For against minus 431, but that's not as horrendous. That's not as horrendous as what happened in 1999. This is actually the lesser of two evils, worse than 1998. And the leading scorers, at least they had Brett Hodgson, who got 10 tries, and Kevin McGuinness, who got 9 tries, to be the leading try scorers. Leading point scorers, Brett Hodgson, he got 10 tries, 13 goals as well, and 1 field goal for 67 points for them altogether. And Andrew Leeds, he got 2 tries and 19 goals, 46 points for West in 1998. So, throughout the 1990s, West had a few players that could unsettle opposition. They had Andrew Leeds, the goal-kicking defensive fullback. They had Cherry Mesher, who was a utility. They had Paul Langmack, who'd of course previously won premierships with Canberra in the 1980s before coming along to captain West in the 1990s. But at this point in time, those players were either retired, or if they were still playing, they were way past their best. All they really had to cheer about in 1998 was Brett Hodgson, who I just mentioned, was their leading scorer. And props to Brett Hodgson for standing out, for pulling his weight when the rest of the team wasn't, showing what a champion player he would end up being. After picking up the 2 wooden spoons with West in 98-99, Hodgson, of course, then played with Parramatta and then with West Tigers, and participated in West Tigers' 2005 premiership, and was an excellent player for Parramatta and West Tigers, and showed he would be a future champion player by standing out and performing well in such a struggling team. So props to him, and props to Kevin McGuinness and also his brother Ken McGuinness. Kevin and Ken McGuinness are both utilities for West, both played 5'8" wing or centre, sometimes lock, sometimes off the bench. So versatile utilities, and they perform well for West as well. But aside from the 2 McGuinness brothers and aside from Brett Hodgson, no one else really worth mentioning even pulling their weight at all, unfortunately. Harsh but fair. So then, to make matters even worse, as we go through every single West score in 1998, to make matters even worse, like I said, they only won 4 games for the season. So when they won those 4 games, or when they had games when they didn't lose by too much, they would then capitulate after that. So it's what I call a hot air interval. Because any time it looked like maybe West were going to start playing better, that train of thought would dissipate into hot air, and then they'd capitulate and actually play worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as the season went along, deteriorating further. So, all the West scores in 1998, all 24 of them. 1998 round 1, West losing to St George Dragons 34-18. In round 2, losing to Melbourne Storm 26-16. In round 3, like I said, round 3, a rare win. They beat South Sydney 42 points to 6. I remember watching that game, Channel 9 Sunday Over game, and it was an excellent performance. It was only against South, who were also a cellar dweller at this point in time, but it was at least an excellent performance in round 3, but it ended up not mattering. So put round 3 over here, don't forget it though. Then, 1998 round 4, West had lost to Newcastle 34-18, and in round 5 had lost to Rooster 22-4. Then in round 6, they had to play South again, and this time got thumped by South 41 points to 10. So only 3 weeks earlier, they'd had a rare win. They'd had a rare big win and beaten South. Well, only 3 weeks later, they got thumped by South. To prove that win against South in round 3 was nothing but a fluke. Then they got embarrassed by South, who were also several dwellers, and also hardly won a game at that point in time. 41 points to 10, thumping from South in round 6. So then in round 7, again, they had to play St George Dragons again. Only lost to St George Dragons 12 points to 8. Okay, they didn't lose by much. Maybe they're going to start playing better? No. Hot air interval. 1998 round 8, destroyed by Melbourne Storm 54-16, and 1998 round 9, destroyed by Illawarra Steelers 42 points to 20 at Wollongong Showground. This was the last year that St George Dragons and Illawarra Steelers were 2 separate teams before they merged to become St George Illawarra in 1999. That's why West played St George Dragons and Illawarra at different times in 1998, just to clarify that. So this 42-20 thumping from Illawarra Steelers at Wollongong Showground. One, it was extremely windy night, which means goal kicking was hard for both teams, which means that Illawarra missed a lot of goals, so that actually could have been over 50 points. And Illawarra actually had a couple of tries disallowed as well, so that actually could have been like, instead of being 42-20, could have been 54 or 56 or 58-20, something ridiculous. 42-20 was bad enough. Then the moment in the sun. I do try and find a moment in the sun for all the wooden spoon teams, but out of all the moments in the sun, for every wooden spoon team that I've done so far, this will be one of the least bright moments in the sun. The next 5 games in 1998, okay, West managed to win 3 of them. They did manage to win 3 of the 5 games, but in this little period of 5 games, they still had one of their disgraceful performances. And these 5 teams they played were teams that finished nowhere near the finals in 1998. 1998 round 10, West managed to beat Gold Coast Chargers 24-14, who were also no good at that point in time. Round 11, they only lost to Balmain 2012. Round 12, actually an excellent win, probably their best, or definitely their best game of the year. They beat Adelaide Rams 36-24, and I did a video specifically for that game by itself, because that was the only time that West Magpies and Adelaide Rams ever played each other. Because Rams were only in the comp 2 years, 97 and 98, and dissolved at the end of 98, so this was the only time that they ever played each other. And West put 8 tries on them and won comfortably 36-24, so that was a really good performance. But again, in this slightly improved patch of form, 1998 round 13 the next game, West destroyed by Cowboys of all teams, 40 points to 10. The Cowboys, they weren't the glamour team they were today. Back then, Cowboys' early days, they were horrible too. They were stuck down the bottom of the 4. Stuck down in the bottom 4 nearly every season without fail in their early days. The 40 points to 10 thumping from Cowboys in round 13, 1998. Disgraceful. In round 14, West managed a win and managed to beat Warriors 18-16. So like I said, they won 3 out of 5 games, but only against teams nowhere near the finals. And then they would then lose the last 10 consecutive games to end up with the wooden spoon. And this is when the humiliating scoreline started occurring frequently. So, yeah, again, another hot air interval. So, 1998 round 15, humiliated by Brisbane 56 points to 4. In round 16, ridiculous game, losing to Manly 45-30. Yeah, extremely unusual scoreline. So, Manly just decided to kick a field goal just to make it an unusual scoreline. 45-30 lost to Manly, very, very unusual. In round 17, 32-18 lost to North Sydney. And yet again, the final hot air interval of the season, 1998 round 18, West only lost by a point. They only lost 18-17 to Newcastle, and Newcastle were one of the heavyweights in 1998. So just one last chance in the season. Could maybe West play better? Could maybe they win a couple more games and maybe just avoid the wooden spoon? Definitely not. After that rare improved performance, yet again, it proved to be nothing but hot air, and West were destroyed in the next game I already mentioned, 1998 round 19, their heaviest loss of the season, 62 points to 4 to Sydney Roosters, and in the West players' and coaches' opinion, it was bad luck. They didn't want to admit that it was bad play. They just said, it was bad luck that we let in 62 points. So obviously, the last 5 games are just going to be more big scorelines to finish the season. 1998 round 20, West thumped by Cronulla 38 points to 8. Round 21, humiliated by Bulldogs 56-14. Round 22, ironically, 22-0 lost to Canberra in round 22. Very unusual. Round 23, humiliated by Parramatta 50 points to 4. And finally, the final insult, round 24, 1998, Penrith Panthers 36, West 20. So there you go. Western Suburbs Magpies horrendous 1998 wooden spoon. I've mentioned it many times leading up to this one because it always sticks out in my memory as being one of the worst wooden spoons of all time. But unfortunately, it's actually not as bad as 1999. It's actually the lesser of two evils because 1999, they most definitely didn't have a patch where they won 3 out of 5 games in the middle of the season. They didn't have any hot air intervals where they looked like they were playing a little bit better before then capitulating. The entire season was a capitulation in 1999, unfortunately. And they didn't lose 10 consecutive games. They lost 12 consecutive games in 1999. And those last 12 consecutive games they lost in 1999, 10 out of 12 were by horrific margins. So obviously the attack and the defence and the for and against is far worse than 1998. It's actually worse. In 1999 it's actually worse than 1998. So stay tuned for that one coming up in a few days. it had gotten so horrendous that the local newspapers at this point in time, after West were had yet again conceded 50 or 60 points over the weekend, the Monday morning newspaper would have a whole page with a picture of a tombstone with a picture of the West Magpies logo on the tombstone. And that was very confronting, but unfortunately it was actually true as well, because they obviously died out at the end of 1999. So there you go. Your boy all day, AM, PM, in this bitch all day, in this motherfucker for real, handling up business all day. Thank you so much for watching all the way through it again, so you didn't miss any crucial rugby league information. And thank you so much, as always, for ongoing, polarising, brutal, twisted, sick, evil, malevolent support. Your boy all day, D47, toodaloo.